Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, I see some current leaders and some past leaders and soon-to-be leaders. What I'm going to talk to you about today is getting back to basics. You know, it's good that you're starting an advanced club, but it doesn't help. Excuse me, it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to draw back and say, all right, these are the basics. There are basics of communication, basics of leadership. Now, how many of you have been here at least, well, I'm thinking all of you have been here at Toastmasters over 1 year, right? Over a year. Well, this month marks my 20th year in Toastmasters. I started in June of 1992, and since then I've experienced all sorts of things in communication and leadership. In fact, when at Toastmasters, I've always gone out of my comfort zone in both communication and leadership. In fact, when I was just in Toastmasters like 6 to 8 months, Jim Hill, my mentor, asked me if I wanted to become an area governor. And that was just right after I got settled down a little bit, but no, I had to be an area governor. I'm a glutton for punishment. But it was a great thing because it got me out of my comfort zone. And it was as an area governor that I started receiving all this material about Toastmasters. And one of the things that most impressed me was the Toastmaster mission. The club has a mission, the district has a mission, and Toastmasters has a mission. And one of the things about the Toastmasters is also as I was going through it, I realized, look, every time I dropped back to the basics, I saw Toastmasters from a whole new perspective. In fact, getting back to basics is so important that Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay Packers coach, and you're all familiar with Vince, well, he considered it so important that he wasn't taking any chances. At the beginning of each football season, training season, he'd hold up a football and say, all right, guys, let's start from the beginning. This is a football. Right? And in showing you how to get back to basics to help you, I'm going to take that got milk, the M-I-L-K. You've heard of got milk? Well, I'm going to take that acronym and substitute words in M-I-L-K for mnemonic devices for you to help you drop back and get back to basics. Because you're going to be an advanced club now, but that doesn't mean that you forget that. You drop back every now and then. And then I'm going to start with M, mission. Remember the mission statement? The mission statement. Mission statement tells you, all right, what am I doing here? What am I all about? And the mission tells you that. And the Toastmasters mission defines Toastmasters as an organization devoted to effective communication worldwide. And it's true, since 1924, Toastmasters has grown to over 15,000 clubs in 116 countries, 265,000 members. Isn't that incredible? In less than 100 years? Wouldn't you have liked to have started something like that, nurtured, starting the seed, and then see it grown to such gargantuan proportion? It's just fantastic. In fact, Benjamin Franklin started a Junto communication club back in Philadelphia, and in his lifetime, it expanded to several cities. Such is the need for effective communication. Next, we move on to I, for inspiration. Well, Toastmasters speeches and everything in all Toastmasters events, I've never lacked an opportunity to be inspired by what I've heard. And not only by what I've heard, but what I've seen in Toastmasters members. One of the most inspirational moments in Toastmasters was when I went to an area contest, and the speakers, there were 3 speakers from our blind club, Vision Speaks in Spokane. And the target speaker was one of those members. totally blind. But yet, he gave his speech. He looked across the entire audience like this, and he couldn't, he couldn't see them. When he was reading, he'd hold, the material about 2 inches from his eye and just read letter by letter. So he couldn't see it, but he was taught, and he gave the whole speech as if he could see it. Now that, and only that was, on top of that, there was a big floor monument right where he was speaking. And before the speech, I said, look, there's a floor monument there, and I took him to it so that he could see where it is. And during the whole speech, not only to deliver that whole speech, and he stepped over the floor monument and avoided it during this whole speech as he was talking. Now that's incredible. That's very inspirational. And only that, inspiration motivates us to action. And when we look at people who do that for us, for instance, like Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, all the way to Mother Teresa, their actions help validate the value of our struggles. Because those people have struggled, and we see by their lives that they overcome that struggle. And when we face the same thing in our leadership and our communication, we are inspired by their action. Next is L. Stands for 2 things I'd like to put as leadership and listening. 2 cornerstones to the Toastmasters experience. And this is what this advanced club is going to be doing. Well, every club does that. But in the advanced club that I have in Spokane, it's since dissolved, but I was really impressed with the fact that the listeners, they had one who evaluated me and also a listener. And that listener wouldn't look at me, be at the corner of the room, turn his back, and listen. And just evaluated me strictly on what he heard, and not by what he saw. And that was a really good evaluation, because that helps you with your vocal variety, not by what you see, but what you hear. The next is, and listening. In communication, we spend 45% of our time listening and 30% of our time talking. Now, for some of us, it may be the other way around, right? But perhaps that's the reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Next is leadership. Leadership helps us step out, like I mentioned, step out of our comfort zone and take the initiative. And if you're a good communicator, you're already a good leader, a leader, right? And Toastmasters teaches you communication skills to become a good and effective leader. Next, we move on to K. K, I have 3 things for K. Kindness, kinetic energy, and commitment. Now, I know commitment starts with a C. I tell commitment starts with a C, but that's the last time I'm going to have Dan Quayle program my spell check. So, all right, so let's get on with the K for kinetic energy. Now, all of us as Toastmasters, we have the potential to excel in communication and leadership. With potential energy. Potential energy turns into kinetic energy, and Toastmasters helps us do that. Now, what's the catalyst that helps turn that potential energy into kinetic energy? Kindness. It also begins with a K. So, but I thought, that's one of the things that I was so impressed with Toastmasters. We're non-judgmental. We're kind to each other. And that helps us bring us out of our shell, whatever it is. Bring us out of our shell, take that potential energy, and turns it into kinetic energy, into action. Kindness is really very important, and that's what we Toastmasters do well. And then finally, commitment. KC. Okay, anyway, but commitment. You guys have made a commitment to the Toastmaster agenda by starting an advanced club. That's no small potatoes. That is excellent. It's in Yakima, even Spokane, a metropolis of over Okay, maybe some people don't think so, right? Metropolis of over, the area, about 300,000 people in the area. We don't have an advanced club. And yet we have like 20 clubs in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene corridor. We don't have an advanced club. And right now, this is the only advanced club in the entire District 9. So you guys should be very proud of what you're doing. And just stay with it, stay committed, and believe me, it will garner results, definitely. So there you have it. MILK, M-I-L-K. M for mission statement, I for inspiration, L for leadership and learning, K for kindness, commitment, and kinetic energy. MILK. Milk and Toastmasters. It does a body good.
Words of inspiration are always great. These get us motivated and charging ahead. Next on our agenda is our slate of new officers. We took the initiative to pick our officers as opposed to going through a voting process and that type of thing because we wanted to get this going. I need to apologize. I truthfully don't remember who's who in the zoo. So what I'd like to do is maybe have Deborah tell us. I know what I'm doing.
Well, we did. In the interest of moving our club forward and hitting the ground running, we did go ahead and pick officers at our district conference recently in Pendleton. I'd like to happily introduce our president, Del Mundell. Our Vice President of Education is Dan Klaus. Vice President of Membership is John Klingel. Our treasurer, who couldn't be here today, is Krista Owen. And our secretary. And our sergeant at arms is Doug Partlow. These are just a 6-month slate of officers, so we'll be doing it all over again next January. If you're interested at that time in serving, we were interested in having you. I'm sorry, I left off Kathy. How did I do that?
I just blend in with the camera.
Membership is Kathy. My apologies.
Hey, I don't feel so bad.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. It's time for our keynote presentation for today, and I have an introduction I'd like to read to you here. Nancy Jo Brower is a DTM that never plans to be the world champion of public speaking. So you may ask yourself, why is she still in Toastmasters after all these years? Nancy Jo believes that for her, the evaluating portion of the meeting is the most important. You have to be able to evaluate. You have to evaluate to make decisions. You often have to choose between one thing and another. Nancy Jo believes that when you learn to evaluate well, you have to learn to give positive, encouraging feedback. Feedback that doesn't cast blame and provides suggestions to improve the situation. The reason you should learn to better evaluate speeches is so that you can practice using evaluation techniques. These skills, once learned, can be translated to include everything you may want to evaluate on a daily basis. Your relationships, your coworkers, your boss, and your personal goals all need to be reviewed from time to time. When you learn to evaluate with a focus on the positive, with the ability to work on the problems and come up with creative solutions, you will realize that not only do your evaluation skills help your fellow Toastmasters, but they also allow you to be a better person. Help me in welcoming Nancy Jo Brower to talk about evaluating and the 4-part evaluation for advanced speakers.